What's up, everybody? What's up, beep boop? What's up, man? Day Swag is here. Gamma Chad, what's good? On the road again. Thanks for the congrats, man. Yeah, pretty good. Good time. Dump into the clothes, though. I know, right? We got a little XRT and GMEU on Reg Show today, and they're dumping it. In fact, right, if we pull this up here, didn't they just like pop us like back up here? We go 1 minute, right into the close. Thought I saw that. Yeah, look at this. Look at that. Somebody wanted it super low. So get this. I'm pretty sure with that move there, with that print at 22.27, I'm pretty sure that put us at like 96 or 97% of all calls are out of the money, which is excessive. That we do not see very often. Let me double check. Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. That was greater than, I think that was greater than 97%. Let me just check real quick. 96.1. 96.1%. 96.1% of all calls today, folks, closed out of the money. It's been a very long time since I've seen that. That is not typical. That is not typical. I'd say typical, we're usually in the 90 to 92-ish range. 96.1% is quite a bit. Quite a bit. And then we got this interesting little pop here right at the close. So somebody pushed that, is what this was a push. I don't know why or who did that, but somebody decided to go ahead and do that into the close for some reason. Very interesting. Very interesting. Let's see who else is in the house here. Guido's here. What's up, my friend? Mr. Dr. Mojo reporting for duty. Yeah, just rocking a little summer tank. This was from a friend of mine's bachelor party back in the day. So got the curly fries on. Yeah. I don't have to dress up now. I dressed up for my wedding. Warhol costume and everything. You are. You certainly are. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I sold some calls actually right before we careened off a cliff. So that was cool. I tell you what, one of the things that's very cool. I think I was mentioning this to a few folks not too long ago, maybe about like a month back. One of the advantages of trading a single stock, and this was my strategy. This is something I wanted to do. Yeah, this was a conscious decision of mine last summer when I decided to do to go all in and stay kind of all in on GameStop. Right, 14 months I haven't traded a single stock except GameStop. I haven't been invested in anything, money wise except GameStop. And a part of that too is I decided to just kind of follow this philosophy and see what that would happen is like once you find something, right, you might want to call it a Buffett approach or a monotheistic approach to stocks. But the idea here is if you find something of paramount value, if you see something that is valuable and you see this opportunity, and you put your faith in it, that is, you bet on it, you trust in it, um, focus on that one thing, right? One of the things say that, certainly this is an increasing point of understanding, let's say in the Old Testament, in the Jewish Bible, the Hebrew Bible, but then certainly what is then enshrined in certainly in Christianity, is the idea, right, that you are more effective, you are most effective when as a human being, when all of you is focused and concentrated in devotion toward towards one thing, and that one thing should be the highest good that you can possibly imagine in that dimension. And then if you do that, if you focus on that, if you put your faith in it and you put everything else outside of your purview, that everything will sort of organize itself around what it is that you're focused on. So that is to say, one of the effects I would say that sort of, it's hard to explain, it's hard to put into words, but because I've done nothing except trade GameStop and only essentially look at kind of GameStop charts and understand everything I'm doing in terms of trading in terms of GameStop, um, there's something in here. Like there's some part of my brain that like I don't really fully, like it's not within my conscious control, but it's some sort of, you can call it conscience or you can call it intuition, you can call it, I don't know what you want to call it, that still small voice or something like that. But there's some sort of sensory, like other kind of sensory thing, maybe it's instinctual almost, where you know, I can't, there's certain things that I don't anticipate, or I don't know why I know they mean what they mean, but I'll just kind of get this impetus, this modus to just, oh, I should do this. And then it just comes to me and I'll go look at the chart and I'll see something show up on the chart and I'll be like, oh, I should sell this right now, go. And and with an astonishing, folks sometimes that messaged me about this or whatnot, I may have said this in the past, but yeah, I'll just be like, I'm gonna sell calls right now. And then apparently I did that today once again, right before we fell off a cliff. So not a huge cliff. Yeah, I think I did it at around 8:30. Like we had this kind of bounce off of VWAP, I guess. Right. Let me pull up the chart here. We zoom in a little bit. Let's get up in here. Yeah, so like kind of in here, you can't quite see VWAP, but like this little thing. So after we did this and we kind of came back this way up into the 2050s, actually, yeah, right in here. I started opening up some more calls. So I think I mentioned earlier in the week, right? I had reduced my covered call positions down to maybe about, I think I said 80. It was probably closer to about 70% of what they were. Most of the stuff, pretty much the only stuff I kept open was stuff for, was like September 30s. I think I maybe had some, did I have some 27s? No, I think it was all 30s. I think it was all September 30s that I still kind of had open. Probably about 70% of my other stuff I kind of closed, the shorter term stuff. And just right in this little packet right here, I just decided, okay, well, we got weekend coming up. We're gonna get some weekend crush. Maybe they'll lose a couple more pennies into the close here. We'll get that extra charm. Sometimes they price that in, right? They'll price that in ahead of time. We'll get that weekend, a couple days of theta will burn off. That'll have a charm effect. It's probably not going to have a charm effect right immediately. First hour of the trading day on Monday, probably not. But if we come out, we get a little volatility and then it kind of cools off. That'll work its way out pretty quickly, probably by about hour 2 of the day, unless we just go nuts. But we might not. But in any case, right? That was kind of some instant gratification there with that drop about 12-15% on those calls. What did I do mostly? I did mostly 27s for September and some 27s for August. 29. So I mean, it's still low risk stuff. It's not super high returns, but it's it's not zero. And if we stay, especially with those Septembers, I'm probably not going to hold those to expiry, but um, you know, we get a week in here, we get another couple weeks, we could really just, it is possible. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but it is possible that we kind of just go flat for like another 2-ish weeks. Maybe get a kind of dollar play up there around 23, something like that. But but anyway, that's a long way of saying, if you stick to one stock, if you kind of take this philosophical outlook, and this is going to be true with other things you do in your life, right? What you apply your attention to, and sort of what I've gathered in part from, you can probably find a little bit of this in Stoicism too. I mean, Stoicism is very loose, but Epictetus, a little bit of Marcus Aurelius, that type of stuff. The idea of focusing on that sort of one thing. You'll be surprised. It'll who else says this? Newton. This is also Newton, right? When asked how Isaac Newton figured out, how he figured out his Principia Mathematica of Omnia Philosophia Naturalis. He was asked, "Hey, how did you figure out?" And he said, "By thinking always unto it." So he had some idea, and he was just like, "I will do nothing but think about this." And he was also famously bad at trading. That was the thing. Funny thing about Isaac Newton, right? Famously tried to bet. I forget exactly what he tried to bet on, but he bet on it. He got good returns, and then it just like super pumped. So he bought back in. He FOMO bought back in on whatever it was, and then it crashed. And he was like, "I can predict the motions of celestial bodies, but not the madness of markets." Famously, yeah. But anyway. Give that a try, right? If you're looking for that's kind of a more woo philosophy, maybe neuroscience type thing out there. I don't know, neuroscience, psychology thing out there for you. But give that a go. If you're you never know, that could give you some inklings. Of course, it also helps that most of the intuitions that I get are about things like selling covered calls. Right, not necessarily like jumping on. Although I know there are people who do it, and I have had some good successes sometimes with doing stuff on the longer side. But because it's not probabilistically advantaged, it's also easy to mess that up. So cover calls, very difficult to mess those up. Welcome back, fan. I am 503 man. I don't know your name otherwise. This is the first time I've seen this name in the chat, so it's really great to have you. What's up, Tomer? I know, dude. Long calls, dude. They're designed to lose. They're designed to lose. You can go in the money. In the money stuff is like the only time that I've done in the money covered calls, or not in the money covered call, in the money long calls recently successfully has been when I suspected we were transitioning between cycles, that I was like, timing the bottom of the cycle and figure out when we were doing that. Like we were grinding towards the bottom of something, and I went kind of 3-4 months out. So like October, right? I bet on Cat Day as the transition out of a cycle, and that worked. What else did I do? Q4 earnings being good, that worked. And then April into May, although I exited before the BTC run up. Those are like the 3 times I think I've done long calls in the past 14 months. Or no, I did one for July too. The July run up in 2024. So 4 times. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Everything else I've done has been short volatility stuff, and it works out way better. But they're designed to lose. Like they're not in your favor. And I would say, unless we're hanging out, kind of way down here, and you think we're going to come out of, we're transitioning out of cycles, then it's tough. It's tough to make them work because the liquidity is also not going to be great. Yeah. Oh, leaps, dude. It's 2025, bro. uh, like you have so much time. They're only down. My thing there is they're only down 20%. Like that's fine. Like maybe say what your strike is. I can think about how that's gonna. I can like at least give you some idea of like an image of how that's gonna go over time. Yeah, definitely average down if you need to. That's far though. Yeah. Let me know what strike you're doing. Oh, this is tough. No, I don't know about averaging down on the October ones. You probably look. They are October, so they're probably not hopeless if you're holding those long. The thing is, you're probably gonna have to wait till earnings, and if they're down 45%, then yeah, depends on your strike. Let me know the strike. The strikes matter. The strikes matter. Yeah, we're not going below like $22. This is the bottom, but I mean, unless the entire stock market just explodes, but it's not going to do that right now. Not with rate cuts coming. I don't think so. Random YouTube user. What's up, my friend? Good to see you, sir. MTD. What's up? A bullish. What is a Gartley? A bullish Gartley. Complete on the close today on the 1 hour. I don't know what a Gartley is. What's up, Johnny? Yeah. I mean, I've really kind of been cautious, right? Johnny's asking about if I've been more cautious with call selling and stuff because we have some potential signals for upside over the next couple of weeks, and the answer is yes, right? So I would say end of June, maybe up to about July OPEX. I was like, this thing is not running. This thing is not running inside of July OPEX. So I was just full port, cover calls, go, 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 go. What I did do though is because, I would leave maybe like 20% of the portfolio, I would leave unassigned to covered calls so that I could try to, enter them in on higher volatility points. But I would say around middle of July, I started to stagger in the sense that I started to kind of layer them like 2 weeks out, 4 weeks out, 6 weeks out, do that kind of thing, and then all the way out to September OPEX. And actually, at that point, I don't think I had September OPEX. I think I entered September OPEX stuff like 2-3 weeks ago. What was very good was when we had that run up into July 23rd. I had about 40%, maybe 50% of my portfolio at that point didn't have because I figured we were going up a little bit. Maybe it was about 40%. I think it was about 40%. I just exited some stuff, or it was stuff that was like really short. It was going to expire in like a week. And so I was like, all right, I'm already up on this 70%. Let me just close this out. Or it went up 5 cents because it's so far out of the money. It's so close. Run up to 24 or something. And I was like, okay, let's pile into covered calls, but let's target September 19th. Let's do 30s because IV is churning up a little bit. Let's target August 15th, 25s. Let's do this whole thing. Basically kind of layer them out there. And in that 1 week coming off that like 24.83 run into the following week, I think that was more than half. That was about 55% of my total return for my July trading was on that. So like those moves. So I think that was the last time I like really went full in on a slew of covered calls. What I did I think I did another kind of round where I re-upped on some stuff into the beginning of this week. I did. Yeah, so I did that kind of mid last week when I closed out some of the stuff coming off that coming off the July 23 move on the 31st. I entered into some more stuff, closed some of that out. Tuesday, I want to say Tuesday is when I closed some of that out, and I think I walked it back. I think I said this in my video this week. I walked that back. Most of this week, basically up until today. So for about 3 days, I was really only sitting on about maybe about 30 to 35% of the portfolio had covered calls assigned to it. You know, mapped to shares, let's say. And just let those, I mean, right, those continue to bleed. That was all September stuff. That was September 30s, September OPEX 30s. Those bled a little bit, maybe about 10, 15 cents. And then, yeah, and then just decided to enter in some more. But I probably got still about, maybe still about half is not really, I did not enter cover calls on, because if there is some like we are really low, that's the point, right? Tomer there as well. We are so close to the bottom here. Ivy is so low. We could still continue to see it grind, but there is a chance, we kind of pop off coming out of Mondays. Coming out of Monday, maybe, we get some kind of stir up and then it gets sold off into August OPEX. There's stuff, right? Stuff's rumbling. XRT and GMEU both on reg show, seeing that, this was a big estimated window where we would be seeing possible settlement stuff need to get processed. We'll see. We'll see what that means going into next week. We'll see what that means. Of course, we're still like 3-ish OPEC, no, through 2-3, yeah, 15th to the 22nd, or do we have 2 more expiries before we see stuff start to move? Probably ahead of earnings, and that might not even be that much price wise in say 3 weeks going into the 29th. We might start to see some IV kick up a little bit. We are seeing a little bit do that right now, but it might do that a little bit more. So yes, I am being more cautious. I am targeting slightly higher stuff. I mean, it is kind of farther out, but I am targeting sort of higher strikes. So if this stuff, and also leaving a good portion of the portfolio not assigned to cover call. So if we do see some volatility come in, we can just hit that. I can hit that with some more short volatility sales. And then, of course, obviously, if September OPEX comes around and I'm getting assigned on shares at $30, it's like, okay, all right, that's fine. Yeah, dude, hasn't happened to me yet. It really seems like it. And again, a part of that is, I try to avoid getting assigned. I mean, to be honest, it's probably fine if you do, depending on how much. It depends, right? It depends on the strike. So, like, I know some people who get kind of aggressive selling cover calls, and they're like piling into 23s or 22s, or we're piling into 23s when we were like trading at 25, which, if that trade works out, great. But that might not necessarily be providing you with a good return on the underlying shares if you're getting assigned at that price. Now it can. I'm not sure what your cost basis is, but by kind of targeting stuff that I really haven't targeted anything throughout the whole summer that's been below 25. I've been doing 25, 27, and for September OPEX, I have the 30s, but 25s and 27s has been where I've stuck to things. Again, right, we're so much lower than that you could have sold 23s today and those would have been fine. But just be prepared, right? It's okay. Like, understand how things are going, understand that we might get another offering. And then understand too, like if you've just got a cash pile, like and stuff goes up, IV is going to go up, and then selling cash secured puts is going to be awesome, right? That's the thing, is when we go up, this is the thing, is usually like you're holding on to shares when it goes up, but I've been in that position too, where I had a fair bit of this was in like December and January. Like half of my returns in December were me just doing like intra week short put stuff off of that, like up and down. We were seeing in December and early January. So that was like I had a sizable amount of cash from trading those in the money options for January. I exited those in December, and then used the cash to trade cash secured puts. So cash secured put trades get really cool when we get up there, right? Because IV gets high. The same way that cover calls are amazing. It's just that now, instead of having your cash allocated towards a share, think about cash in units of what a share costs or would cost based on what contract you're trading on the cash secured put side. So you can do really well on the cash secured put side of things if you do get assigned. So I wouldn't worry too much. Oxana, can you bring me the Gatorade, the Oshi that's in the fridge? Thank you. I mean, it depends what you mean by bullishness. Maybe $1 or $2 or something like that. Thank you. In the near future, maybe. Like maybe we go back to 24 or something and then go back down, but I'm not getting too excited just yet. Not expecting. I would be surprised if we don't get something dynamic going into and coming out of Q2 earnings, but too much before that, we might have to wait. Let's see. Hydrating. Is there a lot of sugar in this? I hope not. Yeah, there's a little bit. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Lady Gobble did that. Yeah, right. We popped up pretty quick right there, even into the close, which is very interesting. Yeah, somebody pushed that down. Oh, yeah. No, Isaac Newton. Yeah. Although I wouldn't put it past Richard to say something like that. He also loves Jesus Christ. So I don't think it was Tulip Mania. Tulip Mania was Holland. That was a bit before him. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he did speculate on that. What was the company? I'll look this up. What was the company that Isaac Newton gambled on? The South Sea Company. It was a speculative bubble, but what did they do? What does Upstart do? Oh, it was a slave company, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, this was the company that formed after Britain got the Asiento. Oh my gosh, guys! Do you want to do some history things? We can take a history interlude there. So, War of Spanish Succession, which took place in 1701 to 1713. Although maybe there was, yeah. So this was after this was the end of the Habsburg dynasty in Spain, right? So the Great Habsburg dynasty, dating back to the 16th century. It would survive in the Austrian crown lands, but in Spain it ended with the death of Philip II, who famously, right, it was said of him that he was the European monarch whom, from the day of his birth, all of Europe was waiting upon him to die. He had like he's sort of the example of the dudes of like when they quote sort of incestuous products of the European nobility, like he's the chief example. So he was prone to like bouts of epilepsy. He was also had a learning disability. He had a tremendous speech impediment because he had a super exaggerate. He had like a major exaggerated Habsburg jaw, like that sort of. Habsburgs always had a prominent jaw, but then like too many of them intermarried, and so he had like a really misshapen lower jaw and like kind of massive underbite, and he just drooled constantly. He was always sick with something. He also had like an autoimmune disorder, and like yet the guy lived until he was 44 years old. So everybody was waiting for this guy to die, so that they could. Because and he was impotent. Like his sperm, like he couldn't. Um, he was infertile, right? So all of these things, and they figured this out. I feel really bad for like all of the however many wives or mistresses or concubines or whatever. They're just like, try this one, please. All those ladies, um, you know, I guess taking one for the team. I don't know, however you want to call it, but anyway, they failed everything they tried to get this guy to continue the line did not work out. So when he died, right, then the Bourbons who were ruling France, who already were really pushing for a hegemony in Europe, were set to inherit the throne, right? So Louis the 14th, excuse me, was set to inherit. And so they fought the War of the Spanish Succession. So it was a grand coalition against a Bourbon alliance between France and Spain. And the Bourbons did end up inheriting Spain, but it was Louis XIV's brother inherited it. And then they had to give the rest of their European territories over to Austria or to some other territories. This is how Britain, number one, got they did get Minorca, so they got one of the Balearic Islands. This is how they got Gibraltar, which they still hold to this day. They seized the Rock of Gibraltar during the War of the Spanish Succession and never gave it back. But crucially, and this is very crucial for the history of North America and for British North America especially, in the process of the war, they seized the Asiento. So they seized the Spanish monopoly on the transatlantic slave trade. And in 1711, the South Sea Company was formed in order to actually go ahead and continue that, right? And with the peace treaty, the Spanish formally recognized the cession of rights over the transatlantic slave trade to the British Crown, which they did not hold for forever. They held it. They held it. I think for about 6 decades, and then British people were like, this is an abomination. We have to stop this. But this is how it was under this period that most enslaved Africans actually made their way to British North America. So, which was in those 6 decades, interestingly. Anyway, Isaac Newton bet on the success of that. He bought in early, sold his shares for 100% appreciation. I didn't realize it was that company that he bet on. So he bet on the South Sea Company, made 100% profit. Shares continued to go up. Everybody was betting speculatively, super massively and speculatively on it. It went higher. He bought back in. It continued to go higher, but then it tanked. And and then he lost his money. But it did end up being a profitable enterprise, just not crazy speculative. Like, there was a bubble. We'll say that. Yeah, Tom's got it. I did use the word modus. Yeah. Oh, am I behind on the comments now? I feel like I am. Let me go to the bottom and work my way backwards. Yeah, there it is. You got it, Tom. Yeah. Oh yeah, and you can just keep selling them and then watching them die, especially if something's bullish and you just got a stack of cash and you're like, puts, sell puts, ah, look at it go, sell puts, ah, look at it go. You can just keep doing that. Refreshing. I could see that. Although I don't know. What's up, Dabit2? That'd be cool. I think we do get something like that. I think we do. We also have, I think Richard's got a swap basically mapped to possibly being rolled around that time. So we could see that. Oh, did he unfollow Bitcoin Magazine? Interesting. Maybe. Oh, interesting. Is that the last time it went off? Let me look at this. Let me go over to the chart here. Let's look at it. Is Lady Gobble the bottom finder? I think it's bottom finder, right? Oh yeah, look at that. I mean, it did that to the end of the day there. But let's go to the 4 hour. Yeah, it did get off. It did go off. How about that? Yeah. Coming out of the 18th into the July 21st run, huh? Yeah. And before that, it was July 7th. And it ran for a couple days after that. So it's been pretty reliable here. We got a big signal back on June 24th. And then it went up for a while. So it's been really reliable actually on the 4 hour there. Basically within 1 or 2 days of getting one of these signals, it's run. So yeah, maybe Monday we start to see a little retrace up here. But will it go higher than 23? Who knows? That'd be cool. It'd be pretty tight. Yeah. $25. I don't love out of the money, man. It's October. You're probably not cooked. Because we could get some serious volatility returning around earnings in September. So I wouldn't say you're cooked. But right with long stuff like that, like the whole idea of why you would trade a long call is because you wanna be leveraged, right? You're like, I know I have super high conviction that within this particular range of time, preferably sooner rather than later, but in the middle, okay. Within this range of time, super high conviction, we're going to get some upward volatility. And so I want to be leveraged because I essentially know, like, high conviction that something is happening. I like to go in the money because I don't really like to go beyond 2 or 3 times leverage, right? For example, right now, if you go, well, gosh, if you trade like 20s, right, for October or something, those are like $4 for 20. So basically you're betting that by October OPEX, the price will be at least $24. If the price is if the share price is $24, you'll break even on them. Okay. So low chance those are going to be zero because their $20 is below the cash floor, right? So like $20, the $20 strike, I quite like for something to go long if I was going to do that. I'm not doing that. But if I were to do that, that's where I would probably target the $20 one. Okay. October OPEX. October OPEX is a fine target at this point for an expiry, because you're thinking, okay, maybe we get some volatility coming in early September and maybe later September because of the rate cut and because of earnings. So want to have a contract that's going to capture all of that. And you don't want it to go down to the wire, right? You don't want to do it on September OPEX because that's 2 days after the rate cut, or you don't want to do it, on September 12th because that's 3 days after earnings. October OPEX is decent because it's going to capture both of those moments and leave you a little bit of time on the other side if you need to. Meaning you're not going to get too hit for the time premium wise. And if you're entering that, we're pretty close to being as low as we're going to go. So that contract there is giving you versus shares more than 5x leverage. More than 5x leverage. Because for shares, you would need to put down $2,250 to get 100 delta. But with that contract, right, you just need to put down like $400. So that's like 5.5 leverage, 5.5x leverage. Now, if you're going 25, what's the price on those? October 25. These are tough too, because October 25 could be 0. The 20 is not going to be 0. But the 25 could be. 25, you're going like 17x leverage. So, essentially every dollar that the underlying gains, you're making 17. But you run the risk that in October, you lose all of your money. Which is tough, right? I don't like to do that. I don't like to place those types of bets. Obviously, if you have a meta structure that lets you be advantaged when you do that, then fine, right? But if the question is, am I cooked? No, you're probably not cooked. But depending on when you got those, may not, right? It may not, you may not, like if we only go to like 27 or something in September, or if we only go to 25, if we go to 25 and then get close to being in the money in the middle of September, you're probably going to be up. You'll probably be up, I don't know, 20 or 30% if we go to 25 mid-September. That's probably my thought on what happens. But that's just my thought on that trade. Yeah, Arcanus has it. Wait for pre-earnings. Love the 20. Yeah, they're Jan 27s. I mean, those are so far out, but let me look at what the price is on these. Jan 27s, right? Not December. Are they Decembers? Jans, you said. I mean, they got smacked after the bond offering, but I don't think they're going to decay that much. They are down, but no, not that much, right? My guess is if you bought these, you probably bought them between like 9 and 10 if you bought them post offering. If you bought them pre offering, I'm very sorry. If you bought them post offering, probably got them somewhere between like 950 and 1050. So that's not bad. You're saying in a year and a half, are we going to be above like 20, 29.50 or $30? There's a very solid chance within a year and a half that we do that at least once. Probably. So averaging down is probably you could do that and then, you know, I don't know how much lower we're going to go on those unless we sit at 22 for forever, but I don't see that happening. Probably get one more cycle in this year, so you have a chance to benefit off of those. And those are like, if you're buying those at 8, because they're around 850 right now, something like that. 8. Oh no, they're between the bid and the ask is 8 and 850. So 825. Yeah, slightly under 3x leverage, a reasonable strike. Yeah. Yeah, that's a more right. That's a way to get leveraged exposure to GameStop without needing to worry too much about time. And this is a fine entry point for that, if that's what you want, right? If you want to go and delta trade this thing, I don't super delta trade GameStop. That I didn't do that in the first place, right? That much. I did it a bit. The thing about if you're going to delta trade, right? You're going to like swing. You're going to swing GME long, which hey, you can do and you can do well. But I like doing short volatility trades and cover calls, cash secure puts. I like that so much more because it's so much more probabilistically advantaged. And yes, I know I trade big profits sometimes, but it gives me really, really consistent returns. And I always have a nice cash pile whenever we do come back down to go ahead and plow it back into shares and just increase what I can do for collateral. But entering at the right times, entering at these very low volatility periods, entering stuff that as a strike that is below, GME's sort of 2x cash floor, that's decently below it, targeting kind of 2 or 3x leverage. That's a bit more reasonable, especially because you can't trade GME on margin, right? So like other stocks, that's the other thing with other stocks. Other stocks, you can trade on margin. They let you trade on margin. They don't let you trade GameStop on margin. They still won't let you do this. You cannot take a margin loan to trade GameStop. So you cannot use margin to gain leveraged exposure to GameStop. You cannot do it. They will not let you do it. The only way you can get leveraged exposure to GameStop is going through the derivatives market. So if you want leverage exposure as a trader, if you want to go ahead and play the delta game, I do other things. Like a lot of my choice not to do as much delta stuff, swing trading, things like that, is largely because I don't want to take that same level of let me look at the chart for 6 to 8 hours every day. I did a lot of that. I didn't notice that it added that much more in the way of returns versus what I was doing with my short volatility strategies. It had some. It wasn't nothing, but it wasn't the right payoff for me. Maybe it is for you. So no need at the same time, right? This is a good time to you're thinking in the right direction. So no need for the clown emojis. Let's see where we are here. I don't know what neg is. I don't know what that is. Neg. How did I not even know? Neg. I don't know what neg is. Yeah, interesting. From $3 to $85.99. I mean, cool. Oh yeah, that's really chugging, huh? Wow, it's at almost 600% IV. Can we still cover? Oh, can we still cover calls on this? I don't know what it is. New egg com. I don't know what that is. It doesn't even have like an options chain. This is crazy. Okay, it doesn't have. It barely has an options chain. What? This is bizarre. There's like 3 different strikes, and they're 5 share contracts. That I don't even know what's going on there. That's too weird for me. Launches gamer community to unite PC enthusiasts worldwide. New egg commerce. Let's look at this team. This smells fishy to me. What is this? Why is this? What is this? Like, what? This feels fake, guys. This feels fake. This is fake. This is, I don't know what this is. This is some Wall Street nonsense. This is 4 likes. This is fake. Okay, this is ridiculous. How long should a $50 game be? This is, what is this? What is this? These aren't even real likes. What is this? Final Fantasy X is a very good game. I played this game after watching the movie Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within. Yeah, I only play Skyrim. So what? Is this bots? What is this? Yeah, this is a derivatives pump. That's what this is. Yeah, let's look at the chart here again. Yeah, remember they were saying all that stuff about meme whatever like a little while ago? How can we back out here? Did it rip in 2021? Let's see. Oh, whoa. Oh, whoa. What? Guys, this was Moas all along. This was Moas all along, guys. Look at this thing. This is the VW squeeze. This is the real VW squeeze. Look at this thing. In July. What'd this get down to? $60. This squeezed from 60. During the GameStop thing, it went from 60 up to 350. Came down, and then in July, it must have done this with the AMC, right? Didn't the and then it squeezed to $1,600 a share. I think this must have been in the AMC basket, right? Yeah, this was in the AMC basket. For sure. This was in the AMC basket. Same thing. Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Yup. Same like order of magnitude too. Because AMC went from 45 up to 118, 115, down again, and then it went all the way up to 400. Yeah. So that's what that was. This stuff's funny though, guys. Come on. Yeah, zombie bot army for sure. That was in that's the old AMC basket for sure. For sure. And that's a fake I don't know if that's a fake company or whatever, but that's some fake hype around that thing. That's I don't know what's happening there. I don't know what that is, but it sounds funny to me. Hmm. If the nugs go, I go. Oh, maybe they're not a fake company, but the hype I think might be a little orchestrated at present, something like that. I don't know what their balance sheet looks like. I haven't used their services, so I don't mean to intimate that they don't really do anything. I do remember. I always remember that clip. There's a clip that lives rent free in my head, and it's where the guy is coming out on CNBC and he's like, "Upstart is gonna this. It looks really good. It looks really whatever." And the CNBC host is like, "What does Upstart do?" And the guy's just like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Could you say that again? What does Upstart do? What do they do? The guy can't answer the question, and he's like, I gotta go." And then he just goes, and like minutes later, the stock plummets. Very funny. Every time I see something like that, every time I see something that's like very clearly, a derivatives led pump or something like that, I'm like, what does Upstart do? Yeah. Let me go back over comments a little bit here. Also, just saw Vic's comment. What's up, Vic? Good to see you, dude. Love your profile picture, man. Oh, actually, yeah. Wait, there was one time I did that with Tom. I was like, let's do it. It worked too. But that was just for fun. That wasn't that worked, didn't we? I think like we bought them at like 7 cents, and then we got a little IV spike, and they went to like 30 cents or something, or like 15 cents, like 15 cents. But it was still fun. Yeah. But in other news, how about what's going on with our little push start arcade business here? Said we talk about that a little bit. I think for me to bring up the page, I gotta go to my VPN. So hopefully that just works. Yeah, there we go. No. Let's see. Can I sign in? If I do this. We're trying. Am I logged in? Okay, I'm in. Oh, let's see. Hold on, let me see if I can do this live with you guys. Is this showing up? It is. Good. Okay. Open my first pack. Do I get a free one? Skip intro. No! I want to join the waitlist. Yeah, I didn't get a beta code. That's okay. All right, cool. All right, well, there you go. Power packs. But we should still be able to see. Yeah, so I can't open anything yet. But what's really cool, this already did this. I thought I was going to do it too. I thought it was just going to let me in. I was like, I got him with the VPN. I got it. Guys, master hacker, Mr. Dr. Mojo. I was gonna do the demo. Because I did it with the grading, right? You guys know I did the I pulled and got my Machamp graded. It was a 9. It was so close. By the way, I forgot to tell you guys. My my Machamp, my shadowless, like borderless promo, like whatever Machamp it was a 9. So it'll be worth like a couple $100, but yeah. But it was almost, but if it were a 10, it would have been like 2K or something. What do you mean? What do you what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Yeah. But I mean, we talked about this concept, and it does look like I was impressed that they were, employing this as quickly as, I guess, 6 months from when we talked about this back in February, and revisited it, I think, around April when I was getting stuff graded. But right, we do see that. So GameStop accounts are getting integrated with PSA accounts. So I think my PSA account and my GameStop account are now linked. So I can, I could send, I guess I could theoretically send the stuff I got graded into the vault, and it would show up here, right? Vaulted, auction, buy now. Yeah, all this stuff. And it's integrated with eBay for resale for now. What would be great is if they could find a way, I guess, to have their own like processing and whatnot. Oh, it gives you a cost basis. That's pretty cool. But right, basically, if you're not familiar with Power Packs, what they're doing here is this allows you to digitally tokenize. Right, this allows you to digitally tokenize trading cards. This is something we talked about back in February and April. And basically, the idea here is what GameStop and PSA are doing is they are drastically reducing the cost to entry for the trading card market and increasing its liquidity by digitally tokenizing these things. Right, so you can trade these now. Right, you can trade graded cards, vaulted graded cards with PSA. You can now trade them as digital tokens, and they are backed up by the PSA vault. So if settlement is basically carried on, as long as you're doing it internally, you're doing it digitally. It's all settlement is just PSA switching accounts, just like happens in the stock market. But it's sort of like with computer share, where you can say like, okay, I want my stuff DRS'd. Everything is auto DRS through the vault. And if you say, hey, I want my shares delivered, like you hit a button and then they'll just mail your card to you, and then you've got your collectible. But you can they've drastically reduced cost to entry for the market. They're facilitating the actual grading process so that you bring stuff to GameStop. Right, I think if you bring cards to GameStop, you say and do a GameStop like power up membership, you save what, like 35% on grading fees, because it's $19 per card versus $25 per card. I think they do finder's fees if you do have a 10 or something, but yeah, T plus 0 settlement. Yep, instant settlement. Yeah, the Thailand days, man. It was in February. Like I remember, I'm just sitting. Right, I was sitting on that couch in that little pod house that I was living in, and we were looking out over Koh Lanta. I remember, and this stuff is real now, and they're rolling this stuff out faster than I would have thought, faster than I would have hoped for here. So yeah, I mean, I guess they could do some kind of NFT kind of pairing with this at the same time, something like that. But yeah, I guess something like somehow get the vault system to work with blockchain too, so that there's even more trust, I suppose, in the digital wallets, security wise or something like that. But yeah, this is big. I think, right, I put this in one of my articles earlier this week too. We actually got we got an MSM. I think we got Bloomberg talking about the trading card market, like 10xing returns versus SPY. So they're getting this idea kind of out into boomer space. The idea that outside returns for the trading card market, and that's very interesting. If we have MSM that is starting to hype this GameStop specific market, and I think what might be the case is, the narrative is shifting. This model, as far as pivoting to collectibles, and not only pivoting to collectibles, but building a tokenized marketplace that drastically reduces cost to entry for the market and drastically increases liquidity, while also handling settlement and processing in house. I'd be very interested to see if they found a way to facilitate actually transactions as well without needing to use eBay, because right now everything goes through eBay, so eBay is going to take a cut of that. eBay takes a cut of every transaction. So it'd be cool if they were able to figure out their own kind of digital marketplace so that they did not have to do eBay, but eBay does have a pretty big infrastructure there, to get that working and kind of proof of concept up. So maybe down the line, they can kind of cut out the middleman and then, decrease cost to entry for the market even more. Yeah, that's the idea, right? We are the market makers now. GameStop is pivoting for its, I wouldn't be surprised, right? This is the e-commerce transformation that's talked about, but essentially, yeah, right? GameStop is becoming a market maker in partnership with PSA for the trading card market. And it is, right, what the benefit of this, what the bonus here is, GameStop is taking all of this frozen capital, right? Capital that is frozen in illiquid assets, illiquid in the sense that the cost to entry to market is too high, or has been in the past too high, right? I had all these cards. I still actually have all these cards. If they could, I would get all my cards graded and I would get them all vaulted if it didn't cost me $19 a card to get them graded. I would say part of the problem right now is card grading versus the return for selling a card. I would say prior to Power Packs, prior to launching the Push Start Arcade, I would say that I took my 20 best cards, and I had a selection of, I don't know, I have maybe like 600 or 800 Pokemon cards. I took the 20 best ones and I sent them in to get graded. That cost like $300, 350 bucks. Which I was fine to put the bill for because I was also curious. They're PSA graded now. Those 20 cards are PSA graded. I can send them to get vaulted. But two, I was like, all right, I'm gonna wait to do anything with these because, like, all right, I got like 2 9s. I think I had a Zapdos that was a 9, and I had that Machamp that was a 9. So like I could probably sell those for like 100 or 150, just those two, and kind of recoup the grading costs, and then have 18 cards that are essentially graded for free. But the thought was like, okay, if the idea of GameStop is going to roll this out, I'll just hang on to these. I'll wait for them to roll out the marketplace. And by rolling out the marketplace, the fact that they're rolling out this this digital marketplace for exchanging cards in a tokenized way via the PSA vault, that's going to increase their price. That's going to increase their value because it's increasing liquidity in the market. Now, I would love to see the grading costs come down, or have the market continue to grow via the Push Start Arcade, such that even it's going to be obvious. It's like, oh my gosh, you can sell a basic Pikachu from 1999 for 50 bucks, or 100 bucks. I think right now on some of the lesser stuff, so like, PSA 7, I have like quite a few, probably like PSA 7s, PSA 8s, or like commons that are PSA 9s. But do I want to, is that common when it's like, if it's a common, it looks like, to me, I could be like, well, it looks like an 8 or a 9, but is it going to be a 6 or a 7? The thing is, like, okay, I'm spending $19 to get it graded. If it's a 9, I can sell it for 40 bucks and then it's worth the investment, right? Then eBay is going to take 2, $3 on top of that. And then I'm getting, uh, at least, but I mean, at that point too, it's like at least kind of that money back. That's kind of break even. If it's break even, I'm not going to get it graded. If I can make something on it, good. Otherwise, I'm just giving money to PSA, right? PSA is the one that's making money on the grading service, which fine, that's nice. Hopefully that helps the company, but like, that as an actual trade, I'm not interested. That doesn't help me as an investment, right? That's I'm just recouping loss. But if it becomes obvious that, and then if it's a 6 or a 7, right, at the same time, if it's a 6 or a 7, it means it's not even worth the grading price, or it's just worth the grading price, and I'll be lucky if I can recoup. I'll just kind of recoup loss. So that's not great. But if it becomes obvious that even like, a PSA 7 Starmie from 2001 is worth 60 bucks, then somebody will pay that because the market itself, by the increased liquidity, sort of raises the price of basically all cards that are exchanged. Like, any card you got is a token that's worth trading. And certain cards will go on a run, or there are sets or something like that. That's a different story. Then if that can happen, if they can raise the price of that, then all of my cards go get graded. If every single card, if even a 6 or a 7 can get me a return greater than the grading cost, and more than like $1, if it's 50% higher, or if it's 60%, like, go. All my cards get graded, all my cards get vaulted, all my cards get sold. That's how that goes. That's how that goes. So it will decrease, so it will increase liquidity and decrease the volatility of the market. So, there are certain things you'll see where, they haven't made their way to market yet. Let's say that Machamp, right? Let's say there are 10 of them that have sold over the past 3 years, and you see like one's gone for 1,600, one's gone for 500, one's gone for 200, one's gone for 2,000, one's gone for 800, right? So they're kind of all over the place. And you might look at the top one and you're like, oh man, one guy sold his Machamp that was graded 10 for 1,600 bucks, and you look at that as a top, right? But you also say that's super illiquid. It's hard to find. So maybe one person can find one buyer that's 1,600. But let's say the median price that sellers are getting for that card is lower. Whereas if you increase liquidity, okay, you're getting more into the market, but you're also bringing more people and more capital into the market who can bid on this stuff. So the bet is that by making this market easier to access, you are increasing the amount of available capital that can be allocated to this asset class. And so the idea is, yes, you're increasing supply for certain cards. Maybe some cards, in the short term, maybe some cards may not immediately be as valuable. Maybe you see something like that. You see some fluctuation. But the idea is that you're going to so drastically increase the pool of available capital that can be allocated to this stuff that everything will become more valuable, right? So it's sort of like the same idea in this is like the Fed operates by this principle, the idea, right? So it's like lowering interest rates, kind of, right? So like when the Fed lowers interest rates, it means that the average consumer doesn't have to allocate as much capital to paying down debt, um, and at the same time does not have as as easy returns, as appealing a return for investing in low risk asset classes, and therefore on the one hand is now has absolute value, sort of more disposable income to allocate either um, to say consumables, so can go out and purchase stuff in the economy, um, or can and has more asset, let's say, because they're perhaps not as interested in doubling down on lower risk asset classes. They then also are incentivized to devote more capital towards higher risk asset classes. So what you see is you'll see prices will go up. That's the theory anyway. Prices go up and equities go up. So the stock market goes up. So inflation is good for GDP, nominal GDP as a result of that, and corporate profits. It's good for corporate profits, it's good for nominal GDP, and it's good for stock market returns. Which means, part of the problem with the COVID thing and how the Fed reacted to that by doing mega ultra quantitative easing was that, if you could guess, right, the people who benefit the most from having nominal GDP, corporate profits, and equities pump is that they're people who already have strategies in place to capture value off of an appreciation of those assets, right? It also affected housing prices massively. So, so what? The people who already had the lion's share of exposure to riskier asset classes like equities, paid off real estate, and dividends from corporate profits. Like, people were already at the upper echelons of sort of earning and wealth in the United States. And so those are the people who ended up benefiting the most, because people then also at the lower end of the spectrum tend not to be either in a position, because of their socioeconomic stance or status, I should say, to capture that benefit on the one hand, and on the other hand, are not necessarily, either because of education or just because of maybe difficulty in being able to grasp the strategies necessary to deploy, or have decreased ability to limit impulsive or short-term gratification, do not end up benefiting for that. So you're taking those principles, which economists are thinking about that in terms of the macro market stuff and macroeconomic principles in relation to, say, like the Fed and interest rates. You can take that same thing and think about, okay, what happens if you're making that same amount of capital, that same principle, you're increasing the amount of capital that can be devoted to a particular asset class by making the market easier to access. The same principle is going to be in place. So if you have cards, right? If you don't have cards, if you don't have graded stuff, then yes, it's going to not necessarily help you, because it's going to make acquiring those collectibles more expensive. Although power packs, I think, is a way past that, right? It does seem like the power pack thing is a way for GameStop to create a way where you can have a kind of randomized access. So it's randomized so that ultimately the probabilities can be controlled by GameStop so that they can turn a profit off of this. But what you do by sort of randomizing your access to this asset class is you say, okay, this is a way for people who don't have any, who don't already have um, a capture vehicle in place to benefit from the expansion of accessible capital to devote to this market. Here's a way for you to get a captured device in that market um, without being disadvantaged to entry on the fact that you just came later, right? Because like that is one thing that really frustrates people with respect to the economy. This is what everybody is complaining about with like boomers and millennials and Gen X and Gen Z and whatever, the despair of Gen Z and all this, and why can't we have a house? Is the whole thing. It's like, the boomers just got like their genius is just that they bought houses back when it cost $1, something like that. Everybody's got some sort of story like that. The um, median home price versus real wages has increased by 400% or 300% in the past 25 years, something like that, 30 years. So that's that complaint, because you can't go get a house power pack. And it's like, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll drop 50K or 100K and roll the dice. And maybe I get a shitty house. In fact, probably I'll get a shitty house. But maybe I get a super dope house. And that's like an equalizing thing, right? That sort of analogy, that analog is what you have basically going on here with power packs for GameStop. So to come back to this question, Profanity Ridden, great name, by the way. No. If the economic principle, if the economists are right about the Fed and inflation, and it does seem they are with respect to, like, let's say what happened with COVID, then those same principles should play out with respect to this smaller scale, but very similar situation. And unlike the boomer housing situation, power packs are a way to randomize and equalize entry into that market, so people don't feel bitter. Let's say you're not necessarily punished too disfavorably by coming later to the market. Obviously, people who did come earlier to the market are still rewarded because they already have collectibles in place to capture value in that context. But at least if you come later, you're not you're not necessarily bound by some crazy disadvantage just because you came later, unlike the boomer housing context. Right? Does that make sense? Hope I put that well. Let's see. Do I notice that PSA card listings for sale have dropped over 50% in the past week? GME is moving them to Vault for Arcade and potentially P2B card listings like eBay with less fees. This will enable the company to generate over 125% revenue on each card on Arcade compared to selling on 30 to 50% margin. Yeah, maybe 1 to 5% fees per. Yeah. I mean, that'd be great. That's awesome. I don't necessarily know the math there. That's what I would want to see, right? Basically, like my little verbal thing that I did there, walking through like my thought process for getting involved there. Yeah, if you can do 125% versus 30 to 50 margin, and you can get fees down by doing peer-to-peer stuff, then yeah, awesome. Great. See, do I think GameStop will take your Furbies? JK, thank you so much. Hope your weekend is restful. It's been great to have you back. Oh, cheers, man. Of course, dude. Yeah. Maybe they'll do Furbies at one. Hey, guys, we going into the pet rock business? We going into the pet rock business? We might. We might. That might be what we're doing. Oh, very cool. I don't know what a silver is because I don't have the beta. I want to get the beta so I can demo it. Dude, I want to. That's what I want to do. I don't have access to the beta yet. I don't have access. I want to. I will. Guys, if I get access to the beta, I will rip packs on stream. I will do it. Mark my words. I will rip packs on stream as soon as I get access to the beta. It will be awesome. Let's see. Question from Dr. Zay. Do you have any theories that explain the GME thumps? Oh, yeah, the thumps. I mean, I thought for a while maybe they were RK. I thought maybe they were, Keith Gill or something doing, messing with the overnight thing. I think it's somebody messing with the overnight thing. But who? I do not know. I do not know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I thought they were codes. I thought maybe they were signals letting us know, like, oh, we're going up, oh, we're going down. Maybe we did. We did go down, right? Didn't we go down after we got our last one? Typically, when they would go up, typically when they would go up, we would go down. It was a while since we saw one, right? Last one we saw was this one here? I don't know if that was one on the Friday after that would be like the 28th or the 29th of May. The 31st? I think the 31st. No, I don't think we saw one. Last one we saw was like, yeah, back end of April. That was the thing. Did anybody remember when did Roaring Kitty stop following Ryan Cohen and take down the GameStop thesis on his page? Oh, why did my camera just cut out? What happened here? Oh, there we go. We're back. So not sure. Not sure. Interesting to see it back. Whoever it is certainly, any kind of guardian angel in the situation is always welcome. Little tinfoil is always a good time. So happy to see that back at the very least. Don't know what it means, but happy to see it back. Yeah, that's right. Oh, usually with 69. Usually with 69 there. Yeah, that was the one earlier in the week. That was cool. Yeah. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what comes up. Obviously, I love what we're seeing with respect to Push Start Arcade. I think it's really great to see that rollout coming this soon, like pretty much exactly 6 months after we talked about it. That's really cool. Definitely want to see what that is looking like. Hopefully we get a little bit more foil coming back. We've been in a very flat period. We may have a couple more flat weeks to go. I would say the next kind of high confidence maybe period for an up move, I would say, is the 2 weeks leading up to Q2 earnings. We might have to wait that long. But in the meantime, happy to keep you guys updated. Happy to keep making videos, looking to see what we can see, tracking that options data, and having great sessions like this, hanging out with you guys on Friday evenings there. So I think that's where we'll call our first live stream back there. Very great to see all you guys. Really awesome questions. Really, it's always great to instead of doing this in a box, be able to interface with real people. So appreciate all your questions, all the comments. So good to see you guys. So good to be back. Glad to have live streams back. Thinking about GameStop stuff and the way we do. So yeah, very much looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Certainly on Monday for the next newsletter breakdown. Yeah, thanks so much again, of course, for all the support, both for prayers for my dad and for sending well wishes for the wedding and such. I appreciate you guys all very much, and yeah, looking forward to the next full year of 21st Century Renaissance and the whole GameStop adventure. So we'll see you guys next week. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a great weekend.